whole podcast. We're just gonna sit here and talk about colors for an hour.
Well, you looked a little too happy when you said we're gonna pull it out and post.
Is this in the episode? Do you think we're gonna cut this part?
This is the running start.
I feel like we don't even need to do a podcast now. We'll just sit here in silence because we did so. It like looks so cool.
I took a cold shower for this, man. I did. I was in there and I'm like, oh, it's so like it's getting late. The warm water. I'm feeling ready for bed.
Yeah.
And I knew I was coming to do this fucking shit. So
you commuted here real far. I gotta stop looking at this computer. I'm gonna edit out all this nonsense. All right, let's just
staring at.
I'm just gonna do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Ready? Outer space, real or fake?
Yes, real.
Green.
Orange.
Okay. Not today. What does that mean?
So it's interesting because your brother thinks that's from the Game of Thrones, and I just bought that on Etsy because it was cute.
Did they say what it is?
I don't know. I didn't. No, I never read the artist's note, which I should have maybe done. That.
Okay. Do you think it's on the back? Just rip it off. Just rip it off the wall and check. Hey man.
The rest of this podcast is just redesigning our apartment.
Yeah. Sorry guys. Like we're gonna leave this recording and we're gonna just let's switch this picture with that picture and we'll turn that one upside down because this one's kind of upside down.
I feel like we should invite 3 more people over to do that.
Should we just do a podcast while people walk around us and fill out? Just like we have
seat fillers.
We have the cleaning lady here while we do the podcast, and then we just have a couple of people over there watching Netflix.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Halloween? Like, where do you want to take?
Do you like Halloween?
I do. I find it interesting when I ask people at the bar whether they like Halloween. It's such a polarizing topic. It was really hard to follow that train of thought, honestly. Like part of me was like, yeah, let's make this a literal conversation, but also what the fuck are we doing? Yeah, tell me. What are we doing?
So
how'd we get here?
Guys, this is episode 3 of the podcast. And the first one was about the intro to the podcast. I think people have asked me, like, is this the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where they do what's it called? The play about the play?
Oh,
the show about the show.
Yeah. That's a deep
cut. What is the name of that? I need to know it now.
I'm not going
to sound like idiots.
I'm going to say it's like Goldberg Bagel Filter Fish. Okay.
Yeah. Or the show about the show.
Yeah.
That we've watched a couple times.
Yeah.
It was like a meta episode about like this is a podcast about starting a podcast. That was one. And then I did an episode about fasting. So we were trying to figure out what this episode would be, and I feel like we still don't know.
That's fair. I was kind of excited for what it might be.
Well, I think this is going to be like pretty meta too, because both of us watch a lot of podcasts and we talk about them a lot. And we have all these self-help people that we're trying to like learn how to live from. And there's so many of them. And a lot of them are saying the same things all the time. But often there's like very contradictory feedback or contradictory advice. It's indirect advice because it's not like we know these guys, but like we're watching podcasts to inform our life choices for pretty much everything. I feel like for me, I mean, I'm trying to think of what we haven't already talked about because most people who do podcasts together, like don't always talk as though it's a podcast.
I feel like we're on a date right now.
Right, no, it's we're like
been
a
in my
fucking
head for the last minute. I'm like, we've never sat, well, even when we go on dates, we try to sit next to
This is a bad date.
This is like not how a date is structured.
It's not a fact, but like both of us, I mean, there's strong agreement that this is not how a good date would be organized because we're too far across the table from each other. And like, we couldn't even really, like, it would be awkward even if we wanted to like high five.
Yeah, this is a big table.
Yeah, it's a big.
Maybe we're playing footsie under here and they don't know that.
Does any of the cameras get what's, no, so we could if we wanted to, no one would know.
So let's break the fourth wall.
The fourth wall.
This date that we're having right now. I don't know whether to like flirt a little bit. Like, I don't know who I'm flirting with.
You've never been on a podcast before?
Once, like with you, like 6 years ago.
Oh, in Denmark. We did that. Yeah. We actually did that podcast. We were all in a bed together.
Oh my God. So
do you remember that?
Very I don't remember. I kind of remember, yes.
There were at least 1.5 people sleeping for part of the podcast. Yeah, it was the last day of a trip. You were one of the half people. 3 of us were half sleeping and I was awake.
So
I was talking to half dead versions of all 3 of you guys.
So a lot's changed.
Yeah.
Since
we're at a table instead of in a bed. It was a hotel room with, I think it's probably 2 queen beds and 2 of us were on one bed and two of us were on the
Yeah.
other bed.
Yeah.
And we were recapping the whole vacation, but it was the last day and we were all exhausted. So we kind of were like cuddling while we were doing the podcast. This is better.
This is
Let's keep our distance.
Let's keep our distance. Okay.
Yeah.
You were talking about our kind of influences.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
If you're listening, guys and
guys,
gals.
I sometimes forget what I'm talking about because we get distracted. Because like this is.
Do we look in each other's eyes like just
No,
directly?
let's not do
I'm
that.
like, what do I do with my hands? What do I
They
do
just
with
go
my,
under the table. Let's just hold hands
what do I
down
do
here.
with my other parts? Okay.
So this is what I was actually asking
Yeah.
you. So I have like a framework that is not purposeful, but like has built into my head of like why I watch so much self-help. I feel like we've talked about almost everything, but we haven't talked about like what's happened, what it feels like internally to like watch all this content. Because one of the dilemmas with like trying to watch so much, I mean, it's a lot of YouTube, but whatever, wherever the source is, just watching podcasters who are giving you this sort of like ambiguous direction. It's like you could just be watching it for entertainment and you're not really you're not really using it. Like you could sit there and watch Gary Vee all day and it kind of gives you this like dopamine rush. Like he's crushing it. So like, because I watch him, I feel like I'm crushing it, but I'm not actually necessarily doing anything. I'm just watching him. Like basically this is what I mean. Every second spent watching a podcast is a second spent not doing something.
The work.
You're not doing the work of any kind, whether that's like career work or like fitness or like social skills or dating or whatever. It's like any of it. Any time spent sitting, staring at this television behind you is time that you're not actually progressing in any way.
Well, I feel like I'm always trying to catch up to the amount of content you watch, like always, right? Consistently.
Yeah, we're like racing to watch the content.
Yes, so then we can like talk about it.
It's a weird bias.
But then I actually feel like I'm watching less music content on YouTube and on Instagram because I'm so hell-bent on like the self-improvement journey that it's like become an addiction.
Yeah, I don't even watch sports anymore, really, except the Rangers, and I don't watch any like TV shows really.
Right.
I'm well behind you on a lot of like it took me forever to watch The Boys this season because I was just watching podcasts.
Like you're able to decompress and relax while watching that. But for me, like when I come home at the end of the day, I want to watch a story usually of something.
Yeah.
And like that shit, it like fires up all the dopamine and whatever, you know, I don't know.
It's hard to watch
gets
something
you excited.
Yeah, it's hard to watch something like that revs you up, that like makes you excited to like go crush it and then go to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I feel that too. I just go to bed a lot later than you.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I just think like even with my family, I'm trying to like relay this information about Gary Vee says this and Chris Williamson says this. But I can't even do it justice. You know, like I'm trying to show my dad yesterday 20 minutes of Alex Hormozi and Chris Williamson. And it's like, we loved it together, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm trying to like learn it all and impart it on people. And it's like just like an ever growing list. And it's pretty daunting actually. And it's addictive.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
The way I think of it, I think Tom Bilyeu and Sam Harris have both talked about this, like two of my favorite people ever, as you know, but they both in different ways talk about this concept of how knowledge stacks. So if you're kind of throwing someone in to like a really like abstract idea from someone like Alex Hormozi or like a really seemingly deep idea, but they don't have like the prior context of listening to him or listening to people like him all the time, they're not like ready to hear. It's like a level 300 class when you haven't taken the 100 and the 200, which by the way, Jordan and I did in college one time. We took a 300 level logic class, having not taken the first two. And we did it by accident. And the teacher was like, guys, you should not be in this class. Like after day one, at the end of the class, the teacher was like, you probably should drop out and like try to sign up for the 100 level next semester. And Jordan was like, yeah, that sounds right. And I was like, no, I think we can do this anyway. And then we tried to do the homework. I can be very arrogant in these ways. I'm like, I don't care what the teacher says. Like, I'm going to stay in this class to prove them wrong and just get the F. And then when we tried to do the homework, we didn't understand anything. I think I understand logic pretty well, but like a logic college program, I still don't know what happened in the first class.
Well, I guess the question is for both of us, but we'll start with you. Like, why is there an obsession with personal growth?
Yeah.
And then how is it impacting the relationships around us? We kind of talked about our family. What about our friends?
Yeah.
Well, when is the youngest age you remember like caring about self-improvement?
High school. I feel like at the start of high school was like I was like a bit of an outsider. Like I was always friendly with popular kids, but not in their group. And
Right.
part of that was like I think it's not literal, but it's kind of like a metaphor for it. I was the last guy on the varsity basketball team. That kind of is like representative of like how I saw myself.
The Rudy figure.
Sure. Yeah, I was the mascot a little bit.
Was he the mascot? I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Okay, I know he played. He was
I'm
good.
probably
yeah.
better than Rudy at
He was
football.
good. Yeah.
He's not good.
Okay.
Unless we're talking about Rudy Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rudy Johnson. That's a running back. Chiefs.
Bengals.
You know, tonight's sports are occurring and we're not watching. I think that's a lot of personal change and development.
Yeah. People who have only met me in the last year will think that this is normal, but like I used to watch 11 to 15 hours of sports every single day for, oh man, I would say 3+ years.
Coming home to like the TV just being on baseball. I mean, like anyone out there listening, you feel me on that one? That's a bummer. That's a bummer. Although go Mets, go Yankees. Let's
What
hit
are
those
you
balls.
talking about? I don't care
Let's
if they
get
win.
those walks,
Get those
OBPs.
runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say that like I don't still think about baseball every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like, don't talk to me. There's a guy on first and I'm waiting to see if he'll run to second. And that's the only thing I care about for the whole day.
So maybe I'm not going to psychoanalyze you any further. Then without sports in your life, there's something new that's filling this gap.
Sure. I did join a Sam Harris meetup group in 2016 though. So like this is not, it's become more extreme, but this
Right.
isn't new.
Right.
I think I think it's kind of just circumstantial. Like you just get pushed down a path of like, I think it's just a positive feedback loop where you do something, you benefit from it, you kind of feel an impulse to do it more because it's working, and then you just keep doing it more and more and more and more. Like I wouldn't watch self-development content if I didn't feel like I was actively improving in some way. Mm-hmm. And I think like there are a couple analogies or a couple like specific examples where it's so easy to see it working that you just want to apply the concept to everything else. Like basically the concept of being bad at something and then becoming good at it. I think that's always resonated with me. And physical fitness is like the main one. And then I think if you just think of everything like exercise or you think of everything in terms of what's worked for you. But for me, it's exercise because I'm sitting here probably 45 pounds heavier than I was when I graduated high school, which is why like I think I could beat every.
Thanks, Jocko.
Yeah. I think I owe Tony Horton most of it. He was the
that was
P90X guy.
Oh, okay.
That's what I want.
The coffee company in Canada. That's Tim Horton.
What? Tim Horton. No.
Okay.
Tony.
Gotcha.
Tony Horton is P90X. He was like the first fitness person that I watched when I was like a junior in college or something.
I kind of remember that phase. Like I never got into it. For me, working out, like I'll never forget my basketball coach in high school. We played like shirts and skins.
Yeah.
And I took my shirt off and he was like, Altman, they feed you at your house? Like he literally was trying to be funny, but it actually is a comment I remember 15 years later.
Like
so that's why I work out. I'm like, I'm not going to look like that.
It's like low level trauma.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that statement is going to sound weird to people who like don't think in those terms, but I think it like trauma in terms of like you're like feeling triggered by the thing still.
Yeah, it's like this. I mean, we were at the bar like a year ago and someone was like, what is your biggest fear? And like at one point I said dance circles because I just felt awkward in them. And then I started working on that. And at one point I remember it was like my body image is like, there's something off with it, you know? And I feel like I've really worked towards, again, like just seeing the good of what is. And, you know, of course we're always going to try to strive, but I'm less fearful of kind of like, what does my body look like to others? But it is definitely strange. I've told that to people and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't think
but that's like, I don't want to compare this to people who have like girls who have, you know, body dysmorphia.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Like this is like a micro version of that.
For sure.
But like, you don't see yourself the way like basically the comparison is it doesn't even matter what they say to you because you don't believe them.
Yes. That has been something I've worked on for a long time.
Yeah.
I also remember someone I dated at one point, they said my falsetto singing voice was shit.
Yeah.
And for years, I
even
literally
know what
didn't
that means.
believe that I could, you know,
That's falsetto?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I never would know.
I always have a little hesitation, but I guess like we're on this self-improvement kind of thing right now on this topic. So I guess
it's
let's go
well, I
more on
think
that.
the like the important thing that comes from it is just the power of positive feedback loops of like reinforcement. And by positive feedback loop, I don't mean like that it's inherently a good thing, just that doing the thing creates more incentive to keep doing the thing. And it's like snowball effect,
Right.
up or down.
Right.
It's momentum in the positive or the negative
I was
direction.
thinking of the being versus becoming concept,
Sure.
right? Like I look in the mirror at the gym and I'm looking at what I'm trying to look at what I am, but I'm constantly trying to picture also where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, anyway, we could go on a long tangent about the gym, but it's like, where am I trying to go with that? I don't really think I have a goal. It's like, I want to look like the Hollywood movie stars.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, not having a goal in these ways is probably like the pathological extreme of like, oh, I'll never feel good enough because I'm just trying to like endlessly improve in some way.
Yeah.
And you never reach it. Like that was always an issue with gambling. It's like there's no amount of money I could win where I'd be like, okay, this is enough. It would just be more. I'd win like whatever obscene amount of money in a night. And within 15 seconds, my brain would go, okay, what's tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I had to like teach myself to like, let's take the win. Because the last year or so that I was gambling, at the end of every night, I would go for a walk just to like, whether I won a ton, just to like feel gratitude for it, or whether I lost a ton to like unwind and like get.
How close to the ledge? No, that's bad joke.
I mean, we live right by the river.
How close to the House of Q ledge did you get for the barbecue?
Listen, you could probably get out of the Hudson. I could swim to the city.
Yeah, I would come after
I'm not a good swimmer. You don't have to. I'd make it to the other side. You just Uber around and you'll get me on the other
Our
side. Our
friend Andrew is convinced he could swim across from Hoboken to New York.
I wasn't even doing that. I thought I was making fun of myself, but I guess this is okay. The place I wanted to stay at was like the power of doing a thing, and then it makes you keep doing more of the thing. And when you realize that there's a mechanism there, it like when I'm watching something, I'm like actively focusing on this concept of like, let me get like another building block of knowledge to like reach the next paradigm so that I can understand the next thing.
Right.
Like a lot of the stuff that we watch now, if I had watched it 5 years ago, I think it would have just been boring. Like, I don't think I would have been able to like hear it. And when someone says something to you like that, you're like, oh, I don't think you'd even be able to hear this advice right now.
Some of our friends are reacting to that.
Yeah. Like, it's not literal. Like, they can hear it, but their psychology is such that they can't internalize the words.
So how do we say these things without sounding better than thou, you know? Because like that's what I'm thinking right now. That's what's happening. Is we are talking about this self-development journey. Some people are going to get left behind. But what we're not talking about is we're going to meet new people along the way.
Yeah.
Who we connect with.
Sure.
Right. Like I was at Othership the other day, and I was in the sauna, and they were talking about finding your joy and hardwiring your happiness. And I was with like a whole new group of friends who I'd been doing one activity with for the last couple of years. And we were like, let's take this to the next level.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. And like, we all talked about that, how, oh, wow, it's so cool to like build on something with like-minded people. But I do have this feeling of like a disconnect with some of my friends that I've had for a long time. And I don't know how to like rectify that. Cause like, we just see the world differently.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to change. It would take some sort of major life event. Like for me, for you, there was a huge life event. For both of us, yours was much bigger, but we won't compare. But like yours was.
I did a whole episode on mine. You write music about yours.
Yeah,
we both have content.
Everyone, on it. The core crew knows about it. But like, does it take a bad life-altering crack in your like way of thinking to encourage major change?
I don't actually think so. I think it is a combination of timing and that, because some people can just get it. Like, imagine that you had a social circle your whole life that was just obsessive about self-improvement.
Okay.
You would just naturally gravitate towards that, provided that they didn't overdo it where they were too pushy about it. Like, if you just, this is like another Tom Bellew thing, but he was like, if you want someone to change, put them on like strand them on an island with like 4 people that they aspire to be like,
Mhm.
and they will just start to emulate the behavior of those people.
Right.
Like it's inevitable.
Right.
They want the approval of the group. Like you literally give them no other options. It's like, these are the people. You're either going to do what they do or you'll be completely alone. It's like, it's survival.
Yeah.
Like it's evolutionary. Like if your entire upbringing was just full of people who all behave the same way, you will by default, I mean, listen, there are people who have psychological abnormalities and or whatever, but for the vast majority of people, if you're just around an influence, you will just become that influence. I like when I was smoking weed in high school, it was only because like the people that I liked in high school were doing it.
Right.
I didn't just decide like, oh, you know, it'd be fun if I just, you know, tried marijuana. Like it wasn't an independent thought.
Right.
It was just like the people I was friends with did it. And I was like, I mean, it's not peer pressure. I just thought it seemed cool. They were cool. It was like, let's do it because they're doing it.
Yeah.
I think everything is kind of like that. So it's like either that or the polar opposite, which is just something terrible happens and you are either fully broken by it or you're broken just enough where you rebound the complete opposite direction. So you have like the positive stimulus from like good influences, or you get the reverse stimulus from bad influences. Like you are someone who doesn't care about your health at all, hypothetically. And then you get really, really sick to the point where you're like worried you're going to die.
Sounds
and
familiar.
Then you, yeah, I mean, I was never actually really worried about that, but I was not, but I already cared about my health. Like to make it about me would be, I think, to like distract from the point a little bit. Because I think to take a hypothetical person who like eats terrible food, doesn't go to the gym, doesn't take care of themselves, you know, doesn't sleep well, and then they have a really crippling life event where their health just goes to shit.
Right.
But they see what could be like a really scary situation, but they don't quite arrive there. That could be enough motivation to just completely shift to the other direction. But it's also, you get a lot of people, and I think we both know a lot of people like this. Something really bad happens, and for like a week or a month or even a few months, they start to seem like they're changing because of it, and then they just go right back to status quo because there wasn't enough of a push. So I think like the surefire way to change is to have like some combination of both. You need like the negative and the positive motivation.
Right. Now, I was paying attention.
I'm happy.
But my question
if you weren't, it's cool. Like this is going to sound good regardless.
A confident man.
Yeah.
Who do you hope listens to this podcast? And you know, what are they supposed to take away from these conversations? What are the guests you're looking to have on here?
Yeah. I think honestly, most people don't care about this. Like, there's no way, like, I'm not going to be Joe Rogan because to Rogan's credit and to his detriment, he's very agreeable with his guests. Like, he's going to have Trump on his podcast. And on the like, there are podcasts where he also has talked to Bernie Sanders. Like, I don't want to turn this to a point.
Yeah.
But I think it's just informative. Like, he'll go far left and there actually are some.
And then he'll go Kanye.
Right, and he'll have basically the point is he'll have like the wider. I need to not move the microphone because the sound's good. So my hands are jumpy.
Put one in your pants.
If I put one of my hands in my pants, then it should put the mic. No. He'll have
I don't know what kind of sounds we get down there.
Anyway,
cheerio.
He'll have a very wide range of guests on that have like completely conflicting opinions, and he'll just agree with all the guests. And I think that makes him very likable, but it also is like a little disingenuous. I think he kind of just gets wrapped up, like falls into the frame of the guest a lot of the time. I love Joe Rogan, but like it's a flaw of his. It's what makes him loved, but it also makes him a little bit like problematic.
So what's his audience then?
His audience is kind of just everybody, or at least
it's become more male dominated.
Yeah, it's like his audience is like men between 18 and 50. Like,
gotcha. Okay.
It's just it's such a broad demographic.
But going back to yours,
there's no way. Like, if I talk self-improvement, there are enough people that are just going to not like the concept of thinking about yourself so much. Like, this is a concern I have about myself. Is like, this is so self-obsessed and like self-involved. Like, shouldn't you just think about spreading joy to other people? Like, why do you? Well, this is how I see it. I just don't think other people will see it this way all the time.
I mean, I've been at bars with you where like
Sure.
the whole room is smiling,
Right.
you know, after the fact, right? Or like during the fact. Like I came in on Sunday and everyone was like dancing and singing and doing karaoke. So you were spreading
really
positive
responsible
vibe.
for all of that, but I contributed.
Sure. I won't toot your horn too much,
Okay.
but you weren't talking about self-improvement in those moments,
No,
right?
no, no,
You were
but
just being.
I wasn't right, but I'm saying, I guess the way I see it versus the way other people see it is and I know you agree with this. If you improve yourself, you become a person who's more positioned to help other people or to just spread, like you in your downtime, you are very selfish so that you can be selfless because you have control over your own emotions and then you can positively affect other people's emotions.
Amen.
And so I just don't think most people are willing to, or I think they're just not at a paradigm to think that way. It's
So
like,
do we think the world is like, is it hopeless?
No, I think very few people are a lost cause. I like it. It sounds nice to say, but I think it's very few people. I think it's like, I think there's just a spectrum.
Do you have like a hero complex?
A little.
Okay.
I definitely think I do.
More than a little, I would say.
I think like if I really was being honest about what I want from doing a podcast, it's for everyone to just tell me how great the podcast is. Like that's a large variable.
Great
like
podcast.
It sounds great for people to just like when I quit. Thanks, man. I almost forgot.
At least you're listening.
No. When I quit gambling the first time, when I was like bad at it.
What year? When was that?
2018, okay. 2017.
We
maybe.
lived together back then.
2017.
Yeah.
It was like at the beginning of my quitting gambling video. It's like Jose Calderon makes a 3. The Knicks win by 3 over the Lakers. I needed them to win by 2 or less or whatever.
So if Jose Calderon hits a 3 now, you're back in. Is he retired?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Jose, come on out.
No, stop it.
Okay.
I don't need to gamble.
Okay.
Well, now, I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast. So
would be a wild turn of events if he was get the next.
I would
guest.
have him on.
Yeah.
He changed my whole life.
You're right.
He's a big factor. Okay. The reality tunnel.
The next
split.
YouTube video.
Yeah.
Jose Calderon, how he changed my life.
That is like a common YouTube viral type title.
Yeah. Yeah. Just put like a bikini person on the thumbnail.
Jose Calderon in a bikini.
In a bikini. Yes. Yeah.
That's gonna be
done.
That's gonna be the
done.
this episode.
Jose.
We're not having him on.
Okay.
No, some people will know what that means. When I quit gambling the first time, I wrote this like just like Word document, just like a journal entry to myself. And I kind of talked about like, why do I feel the need to keep doing this thing, even though I'm not doing well at it? And I think like the conclusion in the blog post was, I like the idea of people of being like known for a thing. It's like, oh, that's the guy who knows gambling.
Well,
like,
didn't you have that nickname
the guy.
to give some people the inside?
I was referred to as the guy. I had a blog called The Guy Says.
They still call you that.
Some people still call me the guy.
They said I could never make it. Anyway, that was DJ Khaled, I think. I don't know.
You sounded like him a little bit.
I saw his name in an email today for a bachelor party, and I felt inspired.
Is it
We the best.
Party?
We the best. It was
the best bachelor party.
It was his son's.
What?
Now 8. It was
His
our
son's
mutual. It was our
married
mutual boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
DJ Khaled's son is already getting married at 8.
We the best. That's my falsetto.
You're not going to answer that question.
I abstain.
Yeah, that's fine. Abstain. Plead the fifth.
Okay. Let's start up a notch.
So now I like.
Let's get cold.
Should we put the air on? We're gonna have ice at some point.
One article of clothing removed, not made for this episode, but like other episodes, and it gets cold.
They're saying when it's not a male only episode, we should freeze people.
How do you know?
Sauna. I'm just visualizing.
Sponsored by Ice Cubes. They really cold.
Do you know any brands of ice cubes?
Do I know any brands of ice cubes?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
What companies do ice cubes?
Does it matter? This is actually like, should we make a cool ice cube? I'm serious.
Mises
PCs.
Podcast over. We gotta go.
Mises PCs. Wait, wasn't there a time during the height of kind of you going through your illness where you carried ice cube packs? Like
I did that up until last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually bought shoe inserts that were cold compression to cool off the bottom of my feet
and hands.
So I could go to bars that would be like humid and muggy in the bar and I wanted to still go out, but it was like last summer, I think, was like there was a couple weeks where it was like really, really warm. It was like 90 and muggy. And no, I tried to, yes, I ice cubes in the hands for sure, but I actually ordered inserts for the shoes. So I would, instead of inside the socks, put like a cold compress to warm the soles of the feet, because Andrew Huberman says that the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet is how you stay cold. Problem was there was a risk of like puncturing the cold compress, and then I would like my feet would burn.
Oh,
the,
did you ever wait?
whatever the
do these
material
melt though? These don't melt. Like,
no,
would you have been?
It's like an ice pack.
Would you have walked
You wouldn't want the
to an
inside.
apartment and like wet would be all over your feet?
No, it's like an ice pack.
Okay, but ice packs. There's
No,
like
but
condensation.
one of those like chemical ice packs.
Gotcha. Okay, it's cold, but there's no like liquid components.
The problem was if you walk on them, you could rip it, and then your feet would get like infected or burned or something. So I never did.
High stakes.
I never actually did it. They're still sitting in my room.
Could you imagine you're at a bar and you do what I did once, which is give someone your shoes while you're waiting in line for an Uber, and then there is like an acidic chemical compound in there, and you accidentally
you give someone your shoes and it's got ice packs in them.
Yeah.
And you kill someone that way.
Yeah, that'd be real bad.
There was this show called 1,000 Ways to Die that I hate so much. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so.
It was on like it was like Storage Wars. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Whatever channel that was on, I think it was on that too. And it would just be like the show where they would document the weirdest ways that people have like on camera been killed.
Oh my God.
And there was one where someone does like a water slide and there was a nail.
What?
In the slide.
Oh my God.
And they like ripped. And I saw that episode and I'm like, if that show comes up on the channel guide, I would just turn off the TV and leave the apartment. Like I didn't want to be near that.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
And then I look at this poster and I go,
not today.
There's no nails in this table. Actually, yes, there are.
Anytime I'm around a swimming pool now, there actually is a little bit of nail sticking out. There's a nail on the floor right there.
All right, we'll hammer it after.
Pick it up. No, let's just throw it out. Actually, I gotta go. Bye. If I'm at a swimming pool, if I'm like, what time is it? If I'm at a swimming pool, I think about nails sometimes.
Okay. What kind of nails?
That one.
What kind of shape are these nails? Are they skinny, thick, round, white?
Skinny, round, thick nail.
Skinny, round,
not like a fingernail, like a nail.
Okay. Do you have like traumatic dreams about nails?
Let's not talk about this anymore. Okay.
I'm getting too turned on. Okay. That's what he would say in that scenario.
The candle's really
Let's not talk about nails. I'm getting too turned on.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
Boom. Do we need like a sound effect for the podcast? Like a woo,
wink, wink.
Someone will watch that and judge that, but I'm in peace with it now.
This moment that we just
moment,
had?
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like Weenie in the Butt is Brian and Stewie and Family Guy when they get a radio show together. And
Weenie in the Butt?
That's what it's called. Those are their characters.
Okay.
And they do just crazy sound. There's like fart noises. Okay. Let's not do that.
We don't have a sound
effect.
This
is a serious thing, guys.
Serious, real, life. Everything about this set is real except for the plan.
Life. It's all we have. I don't want to do the whole intro review.
So how do we get ourselves excited before we like go to do things that are hard? Like what are our tactics?
Yeah.
What are our things?
Well, so listening to sometimes when I would, I'll backtrack a little bit. When I was sick and I was recovering from being sick and I needed to make myself go to the gym, like I had to force myself to do it because it was miserable. I would have like an allergic reaction to exercise. I made a YouTube playlist of like Jocko and Goggins and like a bunch of bodybuilder guys like Schwarzenegger and CT Fletcher and all these people.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins and like motivational speakers. And I would just listen to the videos before and during the workout. So I would watch workout content to get myself in the headspace to want to do it. And then I would just keep listening to it through the workout. And it would just like, I would just feel like I was creating a visceral sensation of being motivated. Like they're yelling the motivation.
Right. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear my high school basketball coach.
Right.
You're too skinny, Altman. You know, like they feed you.
If you can
Altman.
use your imagination, use your imagination.
Yeah.
Like you bring it up from the past, but like you hear these like when you hear them saying it to you directly. I mean, this is why personal trainers are so effective. Like if you had unlimited money, you would not only hire a personal trainer, you would hire a dude to knock on our door at 9 a.m. or whatever time your day starts, noon or 6 a.m. or whatever it happens to be, 4 p.m. And they would just show up and be like, do this, do this, do this, do, and would just make you do this. this is the actual, I think, most relevant thing for us to talk about. Well, one of two things.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we've been sitting here, but
Yeah.
like we'll get to the meat of it.
Yeah, let's get some meat.
There's a contrast. Yeah. There's a natural paradox where you want to be someone who knows how to make your own decisions and is good at it, but you also want to make the best decision you can, which means you have to crowdsource a little bit.
That's, oh my God.
And this is probably the dilemma of your life at the moment.
Gosh, yep.
And because, so we're a bit different in this way. My default is to not ask people for help ever. Maybe that's recent actually, but like, and I think it probably is just magnified recently, because when I kind of got myself through being sick, I like became this person who's like, I can do anything myself.
You are a heavy research oriented person, right? Yeah. So you're going to go through the depths of like every study and watch all the podcasts. Yeah. You're going to go through the rotations.
If I care enough about it. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I accidentally find myself caring about something that isn't even worth, like the whole like ivermectin rabbit hole during COVID. Sure. Like, should we get vaccinated or not vaccinated? Like, I ended up spending hours a day for 2 weeks being like ivermectin curious. That's and I even was like, hey, like I said to my dad, like, should we like short stocks in Pfizer and Moderna? Like, maybe this is the alternative. And I was like that for about 10 days. Yeah. And then I ultimately was like, never mind. Like, we'll just get vaccinated. Like, this is stupid. Like, I went through maybe that was a whole waste of time, but like, that's my tendency. Yeah. I just want to know for myself. I didn't really ask anyone, like, do you think I should get vaccinated?
Right. Whereas my head tends to be in like music. So when you come home and you will say, you know, like the keto diet is great for XYZ or this study and that study, I'm going to typically adopt it because I trust that you've done all the research.
Right.
Then I force feed that information down loved ones' throats. Yeah. And it creates issues because I can't even back up some of the claims. I don't know it deep.
You're not the origin. First of all, I'm not the originator of the idea. Right. So like, it's kind of like a game of telephone.
Yeah. I've kind of stopped doing that to a large degree.
Like, I heard it so it starts with the actual researcher. Then it goes to like Rhonda Patrick, Andrew Huberman, Peter Attia. Then it goes to me. And by this time, like, I don't fully understand, but I have a pretty, because like that first level of like the podcast heroes who are also scientists and doctors, I think they understand it pretty close to perfectly. Like this, like something like the keto diet or intermittent fasting or whatever. Then it gets to me, and like my understanding is a little bit close to, like, it's close to full, but like I'm missing some pieces. Yeah. Like, I still have to listen to all these people to like create a best guess of like what to do. Yeah. And then it's going to you where like you're getting a distilled version of what I know. Yeah. And then you're trying to give this to someone else. And like by that point, it's like, wait, so what are we even talking about anymore? Yeah. No, like, don't eat bread. Like, okay. Right. But like, what else?
Because like I didn't eat bread for years. Yeah. Due to the keto diet. And then now I eat Ezekiel bread, which is like,
and you've never even been on the keto diet.
I tried for a number of years, and I did try, and I tried to impose it on my family because this is during COVID.
Right, but you were eating fruits and vegetables, yes?
No. Okay. Vegetables. Yeah, vegetables.
Yeah, like keto diet in full would have to be like, it's defined by a certain ratio of fat to protein to carbs. And I think it's like 75% of your calories or more has to be from fat. Yeah. I would guess that you probably weren't quite there, but
I think just to keep us like on topic away from nutritional charts and stuff, there is no topic. This is not real.
There is no spoon. We just watched The Matrix again.
I have been trying, and this is going to go into like a truth discussion, but it's like, I got asked over the weekend, what are my thoughts on a certain war that's going on? And it's like, I have not done enough research to articulate a strong case. Yeah. So I have been saying, you know, I don't know a lot more. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I want to learn. I don't know. And I feel like that's been freeing. I feel like when I started my like day job years ago, right out of college, like I wanted to be smart. I wanted to know the answers. Yeah. And I remember one of my early mentors said to me, you know, you say things with such conviction that I believe you. Yeah. But I don't know all the answers. So I've really, really focused on like, I don't know. Let's like, what if you might say something next to me? I won't know. I won't freaking know.
Well, I think like the answer to a lot of things like this, it's like a dynamic tension between two polarities. Like, you want to be two opposite sides of a spectrum simultaneously. Like, you want to think for yourself and cultivate that, but you also don't want to be blinded to just what you already thought. Right. Like, you want to actually hear from people. Even listening to podcasts is, in some sense, crowdsourcing, Because like if you really wanted to cultivate an ability to just think for yourself, you would just shut off everything. You wouldn't even watch YouTube.
Right.
You would just think like you
and
want.
that's what the generations before us did.
They would just. I mean,
They
they
just
kind of like
learned.
ask around.
It's like
I
the
guess.
Ron Swanson.
Yeah,
right.
but some of those people are really dumb in like certain. They're like
Sure,
their knowledge can
areas.
be great in one realm, but like they have a huge,
survival.
Huge, yeah,
they could be great at survival.
But then they have a huge blind spot in something else, like how to be good to other people.
Yeah.
So I think like the dynamic tension is just that you say that you don't know with conviction.
Yeah.
Like having conviction, I don't think is mutually exclusive with always saying you know the answer. So like you don't have to, like you want to come off confident generally. Like if you want to have influence over people, you want to like help the people around you, or you want to like advance at work or whatever it is, you want to be someone who, when they say things, people listen and you're respected and you have conviction. But you also don't want to like pretend to know things that you don't actually know.
Yeah.
So the balance, and I think we both do this a lot now, is to confidently say that it's confusing. Like I find myself all the time saying, yeah, like, you know, there's no great answer to this. It's nuanced.
Right.
And I'll like ask if someone is trying to get my advice on something. I had this happen today already. Of like, you're going to have to give me more information about your thing before I can even help. Like, I need more context.
And define the words. I know we love our friend who does that.
Yeah.
But I am thinking right now, and again, listening.
I like calling out. We're talking, listening, thinking, planning.
There's a lot. I know.
And
there's a lot going
monitoring
on
the lights and the cameras.
And I just checked if like the microphone battery was good.
You check if this green light turns to red.
Yeah.
It could, and then that means the battery's a little low.
It's like if every time someone asks you a question in your opinion about something, you say, I don't know.
Or it's complicated.
Every time.
Like Jordan Peterson is so annoying, like in that way, where he gets asked a question by an interviewer and he's like, well, it's very complicated. Like that's how he starts his answer to everything.
It's very complicated when we look at the facts of the matter. Okay.
It's like a little bit Elmo and a little bit Jordan Peterson. You're getting better at it. But yeah, it's like, I respect him that he does that, but it's like, dude, just say what you think. Like he has this debate with Sam Harris where Sam Harris asks him, like, what does God mean to you? And he's like, well, you could spend 45 hours answering that question. And it's like, Sam's like, well, how about a best guess?
Yeah.
Like, just give us
And this scenario we're talking about out the other night, you know, I gave my opinions on like what I would like to see in an idealistic world. But yeah, I think it's like, it's just, I come across a lot of times the fact checking is so important.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I feel like my sister's reading a book on the female anatomy right now, and she told me some interesting facts. I think one was like women used to lay eggs like a long time ago.
How long? Like 400 years?
Yeah, I don't know. A long time ago.
That's not a real answer.
She's teaching me a lot about the female anatomy that I didn't know.
Like in the 1970s.
Yeah. When they got to vote, they threw eggs at the white men who wouldn't let them vote. But so like, if you were to challenge me on that, like, I don't have that information.
Right.
But I enjoy spreading knowledge where I can, but like, it's a constant like internal battle right now.
Yeah.
Like I tell my friend, I shared an article that you sent to me that Sam Harris wrote about the Middle East.
Right.
And then when I sent it to friends, they attacked Sam Harris's character, which is fine. That's like fair and free. Right. But I guess also it's like, I felt hurt that they didn't trust that I would be sending them something that I think there's like more than 50% validity. Probably even 85% validity. 50% is too low. I don't think I would send that.
Sure.
But like books that I read from certain authors.
I don't mind that though, like to have a peer group where they don't give you the benefit of the doubt that like, oh, you have a good sense of judgment around these things, so I'll just trust it. Like, I think you want a mix of people who do that and people who don't.
Sure.
I think you want to have at least some people in your life who will take everything as though they just met you. And it's like you're a new person sharing something and they just go in completely cold. The problem with what you're talking about is the people who will do the opposite. They'll just, because they like being confrontational, will just argue with it for the sake of arguing with it.
It becomes exhausting.
You don't want that.
It becomes exhausting. Yeah. I agree with you.
You want the positive and the neutral, but you don't want the negative. That's just not helpful.
Yeah, no, in my music career, I never want someone who's just going to agree with me every time, right? That's why I'll ask you, or I'll ask my sister, or I'll ask someone else.
But you do want some people who are going to like err on the side of propping you up a little bit. You want some of
Sure.
those.
You need the, yes.
Like a little bit of a cheerleader, because you like feed off the energy of like someone who's just going to kind of be a cheerleader for you kind of no matter what.
Sure.
And they may tell you some things that are a little bit more challenging in addition, but like the overall vibe is like you're on the right track. Like you want some of that where it's like loyalty is just built in.
For sure.
But yeah, a full-on yes man doesn't really help anymore.
Yeah, but I think getting back to like making your own decisions and that stuff, right? It's like, I heard it somewhere, you know, the more you make your own decisions, the better you get at it, right? And so surrounding yourself with people who are kind of on all sides of the spectrum is incredibly valuable. I 100% agree with that. I think then the more I try to make my own decisions, I rely on them less. And you only bring in, because I feel like there's a bias for me. Whenever I am feeling kind of sick, it's like you call your parents or you call someone who's going to say, it's okay. You don't need to.
I call up bathhouse and I just go to the sauna.
Yeah. Or like if I know I need to go to the gym or work out or go out to the bars or something, and I call you, I get it. It's like in my life now, I kind of know who to go to for these certain things. I'm almost doing the yes man or woman thing where I'm like, I'm feeling kind of sick. I don't want to go out. Call the person who's going to be like not liking to go out.
Right. You built external forces around you where it's like, if I need this kind of motivation, I press this button.
Yes.
I need this and that's really good, but you want to make sure that you don't over rely on it.
Yeah.
Like I would say it's amazing to have that, and most people don't take advantage of that. Like the thing that I did that was crazy a long time ago, I think it's probably when we were like first roommates, when I was kind of getting into working out at the beginning, I would just leave, I'm sure you loved this, I would just leave these steel bats over here, just in the middle of the apartment.
That's a joke for everyone listening.
It's not. Maybe this is before I lived with you.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
You're a little Dicky now? Okay.
That's you, my friend.
That's my Halloween costume. It's actually might have just been before you moved in. There was like a period where I'd leave the weights.
Did we never
in the middle?
We always lived together. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
there's been no period of
since women laid eggs. But literally, I'd leave the weights in the middle of the apartment so that I would remember to work out, because I would have to pick them up to move them, and then I'd be like, oh, I might as well like do a couple of curls while I'm moving the weight. Like I was creating an external circumstance which makes you do the thing, like for sure.
My dad's battling this with my mom. It's not a battle. He wants to start making smoothies because I'm like, make protein shakes.
So he's going to leave the protein on like the kitchen sink.
He wants to put the blender right next to the sink. My mom uses the sink for something else. This has been like a 6-month negotiation here.
Yeah.
And it's still going.
They're both right.
And they're both right. Yeah.
Because the protein thing, the blender causes clutter, but if it's there, you're going to use it more.
It's ultimately how bad do you want the thing?
Right. So, but I think this is short term, because once you build the habit, then you'll just do it organically. Like this is, I think, is the answer. You like train yourself to do it, and then you just don't need the training wheels anymore.
Well, how quickly can you break? Like when, this is a James Clear question maybe, but like how many days does it take to break a habit?
It's a lot faster.
To ruin a good thing.
You can ruin a good habit quicker than you can build a good. You can ruin a good habit quicker than you can build a new one.
That
like breaking things always is easier than building them.
Right.
There's an asymmetry there.
Right.
It depends a lot on your psychology, because like there's a in Andrew Huberman world, like the neuroscience behind it, if you positively reinforce good behavior proactively in your brain, you're much more likely to stick to it. Like he gives the example of like, you're someone who wants to run a marathon, you've never gone running in your life. How do you make yourself like enjoy it? And he says like, the first day you put your shoes at the door. The second day you put the shoes on. The third day you go walk around the block. The fourth day maybe you like run down the street. The fifth day you run a mile, and so on and so on and so on. But you don't just do the thing. You tell yourself after you do it how great of a job you did, and not in some like way that you're not going to believe yourself. Like, oh my God, what a legend I am for putting tying my shoes today. You just say, all right, I'm on the right track. Like you just give yourself this mental insertion of I'm making progress. That's all you have to say to yourself. And I think a lot of people would hear something like that and say, there's no way that works. And yet I would say 99% of the people who would make a comment like that have never tried doing it. Like you actually can manipulate your psychology so much more than you think.
It's insane. Yes.
You really can. Like both of us. And I think part of it, like to go back to the thing we were talking about, like, why do I like watching this self-help stuff so much? Every time it's like you hit a new level of a video game. It's like, I actually can change how I think. You get a new idea and you quite literally, like, because your brain rewires, you become in some sense, a different human being. Like everything I say to you right now, you're different. There is a power there. It's like not to scare you.
I'm gonna have a nightmare about a nail, a thick white nail.
Well, think about it. You ever meet yeah, that's okay. They're gonna cut that. You ever meet a new person and then you like your dreams are affected by them for days?
Oh yeah.
Your neurochemistry is affected by a person who maybe you knew for an hour.
Yeah.
So like everything I'm saying right now, every movement that you witness changes you in this very, very minute way. I'm affected, you're affected. This is like rewiring our brains at like the tiniest of micro levels. But if you pay close attention to something for an extended period of time, you actually change the brain.
Well,
you become different.
This is a very meta thought right now.
Yeah.
But so when you
that's all we want to do. The podcast should just be like the meta show.
Okay, so this is like under the ice.
Meta World
under
Peace.
The ice. Sponsored by.
Yeah, we'll have them on.
I keep saying I'm listening to you, right?
Yeah.
But my mind's wandering. Obviously, I'm compensating for that now.
It'd be insane if it wasn't.
So you and I have talked for probably 10,000 hours, I want to say, at this point.
That's probably just in the last month.
A couple friends said, you didn't listen to his podcast opening episode? I'm like, okay. I think I've heard a lot.
There's nothing that I said on there that I haven't said to you 50 times.
But what's different right now is when you and I are talking at 3 a.m. and I'm on the couch and you're making a 7-egg omelet at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
With a side of toast, Ezekiel.
Siete chips. New sponsor for the podcast.
I can get distracted by my oatmeal. I can get distracted by being a little tired, a little drunk. I can check my phone.
Our phones are on airplane.
Right. So like how much time have you and I spent without our phones other than in saunas?
That's it.
Doing this.
Yeah, it's in the sauna.
I'm like trying to listen to you, and I do feel like as we talk about self-development, right? Like I feel like you encouraged me. You got me into Sam Harris years ago.
Sure.
So you got me into Waking Up, his meditation app. I haven't been consistent with it, but even the minutes that I've done, which I don't know how long, but I was consistent with it for a while. It's allowing me to be like somewhat decent at this right now.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm playing a show, I am listening to the other band members, but like there is so much going on in my head. If I can actually channel like what's going on here and like this focus on stage when you got like 100 people in the crowd and my cardboard cutout of myself and the bandmates and everything, like what we're doing right now, I actually am just thinking how valuable it is.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about that. I was like, oh, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna.
I didn't either. Actually, it's true.
Now it's like you and me have to pay attention to each other.
We never
for the first time, really ever.
We actually never talk to each other where we're facing each other.
Right.
Yeah. That's such a weird thought. Do we just leave now? I kind of want to face this way.
It's 10:41.
That's what time it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there's more still, but not that much more because we have to stop.
Yeah.
It'll be over soon.
I would say there's like 5 minutes left in this. Rev your energy up like 25%. I'll rev my energy up 25%.
Should I just start clapping?
Sure.
The sound.
Do like a. There's this thing at Othership where they're like touch like yourself and different body parts.
I don't remember that. You always have these experiences at saunas.
Yes, for another podcast.
Not that steamy.
Not that erotic.
It's not specific enough. We'll just workshop this title for the next 5 minutes.
But there is something to be said for like kind of just
you like feel the
feeling like
it's called a body scan in meditation world. It's called a body scan. There's like a phenomenon for this. Even though they didn't do it when I was there, it's like a core part of meditation where like mindfulness, what you can pay attention to your thoughts is the most common one, or you pay attention to your breath. There's also just you pay attention to a certain part, like a category of consciousness. So it can be your thoughts, your breath, your visual, like you just try to notice what you see, notice what you hear.
Yeah.
The thing you're referring to is like physical sensations. So like you'll be sitting there in a quiet room and you'll be like, there's like a tingling on my knee, like my shoulder's itching, my like nose is a little stuck, and you kind of just like move around the body and like notice what you notice. But no, it's so true that I feel like we're saying so much stuff that the vast majority of people will just find, and I'm okay with this, honestly. Like the podcast that I used to do in the past, I was like trying to fit it into like a normal conversation. It's like, let's bring it back. Let's just make this relatable.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be relatable to that many people.
I mean, who likes the cold? There is a growing number of people.
I don't
but,
even
like,
mean that
yeah,
because
I didn't.
it's true.
I
It's
didn't.
true. It is a growing number of people.
My dad literally takes cold showers every morning. My mom does
really?
it too. It's cool. Like, I just said it once.
Mom and dad also need to do it. Yeah, like his parents are doing it, so they need to do it.
I just want to say I'm going to go on the soapbox for like a second.
Go on the soapbox.
Okay.
Do you want me to get it? Never mind.
I think we are using paper soapboxes now for environmentally friendly purposes. Anyway, so I've been around people who said they can't meditate.
Yeah.
And if I'm going on the soapbox, like, that really frustrates me. Like,
Makes
to
no
no
sense.
end. To no end. I'm interrupting right now because I love to talk.
Sure, but I will just, as a quick interjection, and by the way, this could be a tangent forever. I actually think we could do a podcast on the nature, like the art of interruption. I think it could be a whole episode. Because if you're building what the other person is saying to help them, it actually is a really useful tool. I'm just going to use this as an excuse to like add my own 2 cents.
I'm
here.
listening. I'm not interrupting.
But I think most people don't know what meditation is. That's why they say they don't know how to do it. They don't understand what they should be doing. They think it's calm your mind. Simon Sinek had said this thing once, like he framed it as good as anyone I've ever heard. Meditation isn't thinking about 0 things. It's thinking about exactly 1 thing. You can't not think about anything. I think most people think meditation is turn off your mind and think about nothing. That's not possible. Like you'd have to be dead for that.
So how do we actually have conversations?
Focus on 1 thing.
How do we have conversations? Because I'm listening to you and I'm continuing to say it, but I can't 100%.
You're never going to. You get flickers. It flickers in and out. Like once in a while, you have a moment where you completely lose yourself in the world and you just feel like it's like it's weird that I'm an atheist and I like say stuff that's this spiritual. Yeah, it's like, but to me it makes sense, but to other people it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Like you kind of forget that you're a person. You're just like atoms in your stardust and your whatever. Like there's a sensation of that. You're just like you feel good enough that you just kind of like melt into reality.
I feel that in the music studio when you're writing and you've been struggling, and then all of a sudden it's like, I mean, sometimes it can last like an hour, these flashes, you know?
Yeah, I'm probably talking about something that's a little more extreme than that. Like within the hour that you're referring to, there's probably like a 5-second moment where it's like 10x what that hour feels like.
It's like when you look someone in the eyes and you forget that you're there.
But then like within a moment, you like realize you're looking them in the eyes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it doesn't last that long. People who are really, really good at meditating can like drag that out longer. That's the skill you're
What's
building.
the length that's possible?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, can monks, like I'm reading Will Smith's autobiography, and he talks about how he did a 14-day silent retreat where he just didn't speak for 14 days in his own house and no one was around him. No phones, he
hit Chris Rock in the face because he went insane.
Yeah. But I will say when you read the book, a lot of it, I've got a very deep understanding for him now. And I connect with a lot of him, not the slapping. Although like we could try that tonight. I feel like if this was a comedy show, it'd be like one of those How I Met Your Mother, like it'd be a montage where we both slap at the same time and it's a freeze frame.
And then we just fall.
And it goes like, yeah, like it ends on like a double.
And the Curb Your Enthusiasm music plays.
Yeah. We might get sued if
we can't. Can we sing it?
You get 10 seconds, I think, per copyright law.
Can you hum it?
Something like that.
What were you talking about before we got sidetracked by this?
Damn, I don't remember. We were talking about meditation.
Will Smith.
We were talking about Will Smith. We were talking about silent retreats. And I said, how long, like what's optimal to like be kind of present and silent and like aware, like what can monks do?
Sure. I think even the people who are the most present are spending the vast majority of their time not in a singular thought pattern. I think even if you were amazing at it, this is a guess, but you'll spend 9 out of every 10 seconds lost in thought.
Yeah.
I still think it's rare to find like I'm just paying attention to you and nothing else.
Right.
Like, and it actually is not even optimal because you want, like, I need to be subconsciously planning what I'm going to say next a little bit.
Right. And I feel like I'm doing that a little bit now. Like I'm like, okay, we should get back to this and we should kind of anyway.
But I think the mistake in this, and I think it's a mistake in a lot of things, is thinking that there's a set point for where your head should be at. It actually should oscillate. Like you should be fully present and then you should be a little bit not present and then fully present. Like you actually should bounce back and forth because you're kind of like coming up to the surface to be present. And then you kind of go back down for information, like underwater, and you like find some new ideas. And then it's like, okay, I'm back now. And now, so like you're listening to me, and then you kind of like go away for a second and you've like thought of an idea, and then you come back up, and then like now you're ready, and now you can like represent the idea. This is not a thing I've ever like said or thought before. This is kind of just happening now. But like you need both. You need to be analytical, but you also need to be able to focus. They kind of like take it, they kind of like one takes control and then the other takes control.
These moments that you're talking about,
Yeah.
like, do people experience them during orgasms?
Yeah.
I wonder, I'll have to ask next
Neither of us
time.
has ever had one, so we wouldn't know.
What are you thinking about right now? Okay, and
no one gets you under the table still.
no one gets you under the table.
Yeah.
I did get a, okay, no, we're not going to go there. I got a text that got the under the table going. Okay, so back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity.
Is that your second Eminem reference?
I don't remember the first.
Okay, I don't either. I feel like it is.
I really lost you on the water going under thing. I was like really thinking about that comment that I was going to make.
Okay. I'm going to say it again in a
please.
quicker version. Let's imagine being above water as is you being present.
Okay.
And you going back down below water as you kind of retreating into your head. You kind of do need to do that a little bit to like find your thoughts. Like if you're just above the surface, ideas like randomly, like we've both experienced this when we're out, you just free associate like crazy. It's just random.
Right. I think I've said even to people, I don't know what to say next. That's when I really get into flow. Yeah.
When you're having a great time, you just say the next thing on repeat. Yeah.
I don't know what to say next.
Oh, I just said that. Oh, over there. Look.
Yes.
Yeah. You actually want to like recede into your head a little bit to like find some intel and then come back up. This is like a theory that I just thought of 10 minutes ago. So like,
perfect.
Who knows? I may on the next episode say, never mind, that was total nonsense. We should be above the surface all the time.
You just wanted to get water into the podcast.
I was just thirsty.
Yeah. Not that cold.
Not that wet.
Not that slippery.
I shouldn't have pointed at the camera.
I'm a little afraid now for the camera.
Yeah.
The camera is a little shy.
Just knock it over.
The camera's backing up somehow. Is that on wheels?
It's funny.
Are the mushrooms working?
Yeah, the camera's about to run out of the apartment. Anyway, I think there was one more closing thought that I had. Yeah, I think it's interesting for you. We kind of started this and then didn't come back to it because like I guess this is we were going to start a podcast together, but I guess this has become, it's just my podcast and you're just to make sure everyone knows the hierarchy, you're number 2.
I'm the little spoon?
Derek Jeter.
Okay. Julius Randle.
No, number 2.
Okay.
He's number 30.
Gotcha.
Fine. Maybe he'll change his number on the Timberwolves. For you, because I'm someone who like forces my opinions out, like you're saying you're forcing your opinions at your parents.
Yep.
No one does this more than I do. Like you do it a little, I do it a lot. So like you have to balance that I'm constantly here, like intervening in your ability to like develop
for myself.
For you trying to develop your own skill set around being like an autonomous person who like makes their own decisions. You constantly have to war with me saying like, no, just do that instead.
Right.
Like it's very difficult for me to turn that off. Like I always want to say my piece. So it makes it very meta because like I'm fully aware of that. So like even sometimes my advice itself will be like, you shouldn't listen to me so much. So like I'm just maybe this is just something that you don't answer now when you think about, but like I'm just curious what you think on that.
I think we've touched on this in one of the 10,000 hours. I have lived all my life with strongly opinionated people. And I think, parents can be opinionated, of course. So like, I'm not really counting that, but there's some percentage there.
Yeah.
And I love them very, very much. And they are very opinionated. But when I went to college, I lived with like 2 really, really strong opinions.
Yeah.
I dated a couple folks with really strong opinions, and I've lived with you. We've lived together like 9 years. Yeah. Really strong opinions.
Yeah.
I've even had people say Mies is a bad influence on you. Someone I used to date who will not name.
I am a bad influence.
So I feel like I've gotten pretty good at handling strong opinions, but I also feel like it's like it's a defense mechanism of sorts. I will just like not even argue with you, and I will
Right.
not even argue with my former roommates. They'll be like, the world is blue, and they're going to tell me it 100 times, and I'm like, I think the world might be green, but we're going to talk about this for 10 hours, and I'm not going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like if I'm trying to add value on this conversation, right? It's like if I am someone who lives with a lot of strong opinions, and maybe it's impacted me with dating, right? Maybe in the past versions of myself, I've like been a pushover. I mean, I'm sure I've been a
Yeah.
pushover, right? Where it's like you're dating someone and they're like, you want to go to this restaurant or that? And you're like, I don't care. You choose.
Yeah.
And probably my last relationship, sure I did that a lot. And now I'm hyper aware of that. So I actually think it's an amazing thing.
You kind of corrected to the other side a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you used to be someone who would crowdsource what to do in situations like, I'm thinking specifically of like dating, like
Yes.
what do I do about
yeah.
this person I like and I don't know what to say, whatever. And you would like try to get like 18 different people to weigh in on it. And now you don't really do that.
Right.
You get like 3 people to weigh in, or sometimes 0.
It became an actual like source of I became a laughing stock amongst like my friends. They love my storytelling.
Yeah.
I am a songwriter. I'm a storyteller. I love that. I love a good story. The only thing is, for probably 10 years of my life in dating, the stories usually had a bad ending.
Yeah.
And they were amusing to everyone.
You're like telling stories about your own heartbreak for everyone else's entertainment.
And I would even like get a kick out of the way that it ended so badly.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you saw us last night, we were kissing. You'll never believe how this went south.
You'll never believe how sad I got and how they never want to talk to me.
Right.
What an amazing time.
Yeah. And like I developed a reputation, I think, like in high school and college for like, I remember even in college, like the first time I ever kissed someone in college, it was like due to peer pressure. Like someone was like, you haven't kissed someone yet, and it's like November of freshman year. You should. But to me, like, I'm looking for like the real deal. And so I can be patient. But I think just going back to like everything that we're talking about here, it is a good practice to be around opinionated people.
Yeah.
Because it causes you to like further understand yourself.
Yeah.
And just be at ease when someone's like, I'm a know-it-all. I love you. I have been around like some know-it-alls, but some really smart know-it-alls who I think know almost all, But
clever, you are a writer.
Yeah. But anyway, I think just going back to I didn't expect to share, which is good, the whole like high school, college, like kind of being the joke.
I like outwardly saying, I didn't think I was going to say this.
Oh yeah.
But it's legitimate. Like it's a genuine thought. Like
we never talked about that.
No. We've got like 6 new things already.
Yeah.
We should sit at this table all the time.
Yeah, with the candle.
Maybe not so much.
So wait, is there a bow to tie with that?
Well, so I have like the reverse end of what you're talking about. Like there's an inverse to it, because if you were still more of a pushover, then I wouldn't have to combat you as much, because like I know that if I'm going to tell you something now, I need to actually back it up. Right. So like if to me, it's very important that I can be the person that other people come to and are like, hey, this is the thing about, like, tell me about it.
Right.
Like whether it's health related, that's like a big one. That's probably the main one, is like diet and exercise related. Someone's dealing with an injury. Like, how do I like they can go to a physical therapist, but like, how do they find one? Like, which kind should they do?
Right.
Should they fast? Should they whatever? Like, what are and then like psychological things. Like it's important to me that one, it's an ego thing, like we talked about before. Like I'm still compensating a little for what it was like when I was in high school. But 2, I know that I'm good at it. I just want to be able to help. So it's kind of both. But like I am actively cultivating that skill of being able to get people to listen. Like it's one thing for me to know information, that's its own skill, and I'm working on that one. But it's another skill to be able to transmit the information in a way where people actually want to hear it and will take my advice. Like that's almost as important. It could be more important in certain contexts. So because you are more combative and sure of yourself to like argue back, I have to then be better. Like not only can I, we'll just use the keto diet as
that was a big one.
We'll kind of use it as a stand-in example. If I'm going to say like, oh yeah, this is a new variation where like, we're going to just only eat hot dogs from now on because like this is the new health craze. You're not going to necessarily just believe me because I say it. I need to now find like, here's the clip from Andrew Huberman. Yeah. Here's the clip from Rhonda Patrick. Here's the clip from like this new person. And then like show you all those things and not give you 3-hour-long podcasts because you don't have time for that.
Right.
It's like, here's a 90-second reel of this. And here's like a 60-second this. and here's like one article that's like 3 paragraphs, and you only need this one sentence. And like, I have to like drill down the information because you're busier than most people. But even if you weren't, like the longer I make you have to watch something, the less you're going to want to pay attention to
I
it.
feel like sometimes you deal in extremisms. And one of
Yeah.
our other friends and I, like the three of us will be hanging out, and you'll be like, everyone is doing this.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, whoa, like take a second.
I do tend to phrase things like that, even
Yeah.
if I don't mean it literally. Like
Right.
I use exaggerated words, which is
Right.
also another thing I'm trying, because it makes it, in some contexts, it makes you more persuasive, but in some it's less. Because if the person is like, now you just sound like you're making up nonsense, you have to like be more specific.
Well, to go back to my point earlier where I was saying, it is annoying and frustrating to me when someone doesn't trust my judgment.
Yeah.
And I was kind of saying, I almost was sounding like I only want yes men and yes women around me.
Right.
I'm now combating you, right? Maybe if I go back to that thought, it's the people that I'm combating with who I've kind of lost faith in their like honesty and integrity, or, like, do they really want to find the right answer, or are they just on this planet to tear down every idea that comes their way? Because that is not productive, right? It's like, I don't even know an example. I was gonna say like oxygen. Is oxygen? Are we breathing in oxygen? Like I don't.
Yeah.
Let's not go Alex Jones.
I think we're breathing in oxygen.
I'd
we're
say,
breathing in alien dust. Whatever he would say.
right, but it's someone who's combative for the sake of being combative and being right.
Yeah.
Anytime you present them with an idea, look at this cool thing. Nope, here's 7 reasons why that person, and then it's like you get into a hyperlink fact checking rabbit hole. Like I don't want that.
No,
that just gets,
and it's actually, it's okay if a person is predisposed to be argumentative. I actually don't mind that, but if they never acknowledge that they're like that and they think that that's normal, that's the problem. Because like I go through phases where I want to just argue. Like you'll tell me something and I kind of like look for the counter. Like there's a dopamine surge that you get sometimes by like someone says something to you or you hear something and you get to figure out where they're wrong. Like you get some pleasure out of that.
Yeah.
So, but I will acknowledge that like, oh wait, let's both know that sometimes I have a bias towards that.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, I'll just walk out of the room.
Sure. But you could just say to me, like, this might be your bias, by the way, if you just want to like have a counter argument, like check that for a second.
Yeah.
Because like if someone says that to me and I'm not like overly emotionally triggered, which is rare, that doesn't really happen to me that often. If someone comes back to me with a comment like, let's just check your biases real quick, I will do it. I think like that's what makes, like that's why I think I can be that person in people's lives, because like I'll own where I have blind spots.
Right.
Just because you have a blind spot doesn't mean that you don't know that there's one there.
I thought I was calling one out to you the other day in like a snippy way when I was like, you're not emotional. And I actually said it to one of my other really good friends.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm emotional. You said I'm emotional.
Yeah.
But you guys are very like steady state people. So you're not as like prone to show. Like I've never seen you like slam like a ring light across the wall.
I have done that, by the way.
Right.
Not the ring light.
And I have like, I used to throw my headbands and basketball into the stands. I was like getting in trouble as a kid in school all the time. My dad literally like preached to me like remain calm. And so now I've become like super calm. And this is a bit of a tangent, but I was watching my cousins play soccer this weekend and I was seeing all the aggression coming out of like these high schoolers. And I was thinking to myself, man, that's really good for them. Like how often in our day-to-day life do we get to showcase that aggression, right? Like we go to the gym, and I was talking to my sister about this and she's like, when you go to the gym, when you exercise, when you put on your pump up talks, you're getting that aggression out. But I just think like as a whole, I'm trying to be like this balanced version of myself. And I feel like when you're with someone who's very, very opinionated, that you could tend to like clamp your light down a little bit, and then maybe one day it comes out in like a punch in the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was getting a little off topic. I don't even know where that came from, but it was interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk for a while about like that specific thing on emotions, because I think most people would say that about me too, that I'm not like, I'm a robot, or I don't like have emotional depth. And I think I just have I have a lot of control over my emotions, which I think is not always a good thing. Like, I think the distinction would be if you're someone who feels the urge to cry, but then stifles it and suppresses it intentionally and doesn't let it out, that's not good. But if you're just someone who like deals with issues all the time and just doesn't feel the urge to cry that much because you're just like not letting sadness overwhelm you, you have like a good mental framework for like dealing with problems, then like that just means you kind of have your emotions in check. So I think I probably was someone at some point where like if I felt sad, I would just like say, no, 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 like don't be a pussy, like don't feel sad.
Right.
I'm not like that now.
It is an
Um,
interesting thought though, like when you date people, it's like some people date people for those emotional spikes that someone
yeah,
brings to the
sure.
table. And you could date you or I mean, I'm thinking like I'm a pretty calm, chill guy,
Yeah,
but I have a darkness that I,
yeah,
use in the right spots. And I know you do too. I mean, that's what we bond over.
yeah,
So I'm just thinking about from like a dating perspective, um, you being very steady state, me being very steady state, and you're even more of an extreme there. It's like, how does that get perceived by others
it
when you
does
date
get
them?
perceived as being robotic a little bit.
Because I have a very good friend, another friend who's similar to that, and like he found a partner who is also quite like
Yeah,
less emotions on the surface, but obviously they have like a strong bond, that we don't see. They're not
right.
like hand holding, kissing in the streets maybe, but they like love the hell out of each
Yeah,
other.
you can kind of get that through eye contact or just like a small statement because some people have like a different like they're calibrated differently. To some people, a little bit means more, and some
Mm-hmm.
people just need more to get the same sensation. Like some people need to feel like everyone needs to feel appreciated, but for some people, they need to be appreciated all like often. Like they need the words of affirmation all the time. But for other people, as long as they get that one comment every week, like that's enough. It lasts in their mind. They're able to like drag that out. Like
Yeah,
people are just calibrated
I
differently.
was in a relationship a while ago where my partner was frustrated that I didn't make enough positive
Yeah. I like
affirmation
your word
comments.
choices on the. I struggle with this all the time, by the way. Like, we're so 2024 now that we're like, someone I dated, like this person,
Yeah,
like you said,
my
you
kindergarten
said
teacher.
folks
I
before.
did.
It's like your ex girlfriend. Like, can we just ignore it?
Yeah, I think there's
This
a
is,
part of me that's like a little
we're on a
like, yeah,
podcast.
we're on a
We would never
podcast,
talk like
right?
this. That's why it's weird.
Folks, come on now, folks.
I've never heard you say the word.
333 River Halloween party of the century. Yeah, but anyway, I feel like I come across that a lot. Like I'll overhear couples talking about, um, you said I looked pretty, or you said, oh, you like my shirt, or like, but then folks got
I primed you for that one.
you did, Tony Robbins, bastard.
Shallow hell once again.
People like, yeah, I hear it a lot where couples get frustrated at each other for not sharing the words of affirmation enough. But do we have a societal challenge of accepting compliments? I
Yeah.
have been so bad at accepting compliments for such a long time.
Yeah.
It's only in the last couple of years where we were at karaoke last night and someone's like, "You're a musician?" And I said, "Yes." But I did it with like this smug grin for some reason. I don't know why. Like I
It
couldn't
felt like
accept
they
it.
were challenging whether you were a musician or not. Like you didn't take it.
I didn't just take it and say thank you.
Right.
I took it almost like as an ego boost,
Yeah.
and so just in general, like, yes, I was with somebody, an ex, and I didn't compliment enough or frequently. And I guess my point is, I remember thinking and saying to this person, I used to say it a lot
Yeah.
and you wouldn't receive it
Yeah.
well. And so I stopped.
Yeah. In some sense, we're like training everyone around us to like, we're like orchestrating behavior in other people. Like there is an element of dating where you're training your partner like a dog.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah.
you positive and negative reinforcement, whether it's intentional or not. And for most people, it's entirely coincidence. Like they're not actively doing that. I think it's better if it's coincidental, but nonetheless, it has a huge effect. Like you do something that you think the other person will like, and you don't perceive them as appreciating it that much, you'll stop doing it or you'll reduce the frequency and
Right.
vice versa. You do this little thing and they seem to really like it a lot. Like like you say something nice to them in a certain way and they seem to really like it, you'll just find yourself saying it more.
Yeah.
Unless you hate them. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If it's like, if it's a positive, if it's a good relationship, that's like, that will happen.
It's been a couple years since I was in a relationship, as you know, and I find myself thinking a lot when I'm going through a challenging period. I'm like, okay, you're going to solve this for yourself. Because I'll have the thought of, oh my God, I wish I had a partner. I wish I had someone I was dating who could like help talk through this with me.
Yeah.
And I've found that I'm like trying to solve my own problems, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really good feeling. But I also have this like poisonous thought of, I will start. I need to be like solid like a rock in every belief so that when I get into that relationship, the next one, I am not bendable, you know?
Yeah.
But then I actually hear girls that we're friends with talk about dating guys who are like 40 and they'll say like he was the most unflexible, inflexible, whatever the word is, person to possibly date. And it's a huge negative.
Right.
So I'm constantly in this like thought pattern of become like the best version of yourself. That's like completely like set in stone all of your beliefs and core values. But then you don't really know what the hell you're going to be like until you get into that relationship.
Sure.
And don't be afraid to jump into it. I'm sure there's a part of me that is.
Yeah. There's a couple important points on this, and then we probably should just
Yeah.
end. I think there's a personal preference issue. Some people want to date someone who will bend to their whims a little bit. I think no one wants a pushover, but like some people want, and there's a male female difference too. Some people want someone who can be flexible, and some people want like just like a dictator of sorts.
Mm.
Maybe
Oh, yeah.
that's the extreme, but like someone who just decides for them and they find that just more compelling and attractive. But then like you want to do like I think you ultimately want to do what's most congruent to you, and then you'll find the person that fits. Like you don't want to make yourself into this inflexible machine if that's not naturally what gives you like the best sense of self. Like you want to be the truest best version of you, and then use that to like bring in both like girlfriends, friends, whatever the like. I think it's a friendship thing too. You like bring in the people who respond to the way that you naturally are. Because if you're forcing it, then it doesn't come off the same way. It's
Yeah.
kind of and then when you like revert back to your status quo, you're now like you've misrepresented yourself.
Mm.
But on the decision making stuff, I think like this point is so clear to me, and it's not to other people. And I think the reason for it is my gambling history, and it has to do with decision making because I've gotten so comfortable with randomness and uncertainty because every single day for years was just like thousands of dollars on the line. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And I was going to win or lose all these things. And it's just like you have to mentally get comfortable with like, okay, this could, cost me what would normally be like a few months' salary for a person, or I could win that much. Like there's a lot on the line, and I just over time became comfortable with that. So like the concept is, as a hypothetical, if I said to you, okay, we have a coin flip coming, heads or tails, and if you guess right, you get $1 billion, and if you guess wrong, you get nothing. This is now all of a sudden the most important decision you'll ever make,
Right.
by a mile. And the correct amount of time to spend on this decision is a millisecond because there is no right answer. It's a coin flip. It's pure random. You could spend 10 years researching heads versus tails coin flip odds in like encyclopedias, and you could YouTube like ultimately there's no possible way to have to have any knowledge of what you should do.
Maybe just to tie it into the New York dating scene and Jersey. Uh, are people over analyzing and overthinking, myself included, options, right? It's like you have two people to date. I mean, I've seen like classic Friends episodes where it's like pros and cons. Along Came Polly, pros and cons boards.
I love
like,
how much Along Came Polly is coming up lately. It's such a great movie.
What would you say to people who have two people they want to date,
sure,
and they're not sure like which one to be?
I'm an overthinker also. Like I don't know how to do that.
You probably need more data, I think, as I ask this question.
But I think the decisions, nothing is literally like that decision is not the same as the heads tails choice, but there's an element of it that's like that.
One's massive upside and one's like neutral.
That's not even what I mean. There's an element of randomness in every decision that's just unknowable. Right. Like you can like if you're trying to decide which of two people is better for you, you probably can get some good data just by thinking about it and talking to them, and like have a lean one way or the other. And in some cases you can have a strong lean where it's like 99% I'm sure that it's better this way and 1% the other way. But a lot of decisions are more like 60-40s and 70-30s where you can be pretty sure, but at the end of the day, like there is a lot of unknowable information. Like you don't know everything about everyone.
I mean, look at 20-year marriages. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right. You don't know everything about everyone right now.
Right.
And you can't accurately predict what someone will turn into.
Right. So that's I remember like early on in dating, I was always trying to like pick a person that would be perfect forever.
Yeah.
That like wouldn't age, like all these unrealistic things. It created so much stress in like my younger relationships, I learned a lot about my like perfectionism quality that I am working on. But yeah, that's just like, yeah, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
I kind of lost my train of thought.
No. It's and maybe that means we should stop. But no, I think like perfectionism, there's a reason that people want to be like precise with what they decide, but like you come up against the limits of what you can actually know in certain situations. You can't predict the future. Like people are so uncomfortable with the idea that like there isn't a right choice. And this is why like honestly, I'll save this for another episode. My actual issue with like religious stuff, it's not like I think I used to say, oh, because religion causes wars and people are fighting over beliefs that are all nonsense. It's actually that's my second biggest problem. The primary problem is like the idea of fate and that there actually is like a correct answer to things that are unknowable. Like you don't know the it's not just that you're lacking in information for certain choices. It's not knowable.
Yeah.
Like
my dad to end my album,
you would need a time machine.
we ended my album with my dad saying, you don't know what's good or what's bad in life. You just got to make the best decision and go with that and see where it goes. And I think when we talk about like not that cold, to sum up my story briefly, right? It's like I went through a breakup that I thought was the end of the world. That's a little bit too extreme, but I was very, very down and upset about it, as one would. And like the things that I've done in the follow up to that are incredible.
Yeah.
Like even cold, like I hated the cold.
Yeah.
And, I found like solace in it. And so I'm excited to see where this podcast goes.
Yeah. I used this example on one of the other episodes, but like Kobe Bryant 1 year broke his right hand and he had to play lefty or like practice lefty for a few months. And then he got really good at like left-handed dribbling. And in the long run, he was better for it. But that doesn't mean everything that is bad is good. Some things are just bad and they're net negative. But like, I think the important point is you don't actually know. So like to tie it into like this decision making discussion, I think the reason that I'm so comfortable making my own choices is because I have become so attuned to, and I think it is because of gambling. I'm so attuned to the fact that no one knows the right answer that it kind of is like heads or tails for $1 billion. Like just pick one.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to know, just pick one. And then the reason for that, the reason a millisecond is the right answer is the opportunity cost of lingering over a decision that you're never going to have like clear answers to.
Yeah.
You're going to just waste so much mental capital and waste so much time that could have been spent thinking about or doing something else. And that's the real reason. Like the wrong decision is no decision.
Yeah.
The right decision is generally any decision. In many, many contexts, any decision is better than no decision. So you pick something and just do it.
I don't know if she'll be, I don't know how she'll react to me sharing this, but like, I remember when my mom lost her dad, how hard that was for all of us. But now it's like, it's 25, 30 years later. My grandmother's 96. God bless you, Shirley. My mom and her mom are closer than I've ever seen, two people be. And she talks about how, they went through this trauma together and they really, really bonded so strongly in ways they didn't even imagine. So I definitely hear you that like not all things can be spun into like a good situation.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget my mom said that. I think that like meant a lot to her and her mom to be able to like just get so much closer and turn something that was really shitty into a bonding opportunity for them. But not I love you, Grandpa. I miss you. That was anyway.
I like that you just you're feeling a little self-conscious.
I'm feeling a little self-conscious that I'm going to say like my grandfather's passing was like a positive for my mom. Like,
or that I'm going to judge you for like having to like be like, God, chill. Like you're just did like
I just did like a fake
up to the heavens.
No. The truth in my brain was like that could sound really strange as it was coming out of my mouth.
If it sounds weird, we'll just cut it out.
Okay. No, don't keep it.
We're going to keep it. All right then. Should we? Yeah, I felt an impulse to do that too. Sometimes we just have the same idea at the same time. We just needed to cheers the microphones.
Cheers, Governor.
21. Cheers, Governor. Oof. Where's the off button?
There is no.